Dr. Emmanuel Abuola Tobiloba. I belong to the Bachelor of Dental Surgery 2013 set. I graduated in 2018 and I did my induction specifically April 12, 2018. I clocked 6 years in the profession about 3 days ago. There are notable classmates of mine that are children of some notable lecturers, and one of them is Sheon Olamitoye, son of Dr. Abib Olamitoye, former president of the Ibadan College of Medicine Alumni Association. One of them is also one Olagunju. I can't remember our first name. She's the daughter of Professor Olagunju. Then Professor Adedapo Adura, yes, one of our children was also my classmate at that time. So the earliest recollection from my childhood as a sickle cell warrior, they are very hilarious. Actually, I remember that when I recuperate or when I'm recovering from a particular ill episode, there was a particular time I was actually requesting for these local balls made with beans. They call it bean ball. So I really dealt with the bean ball after I recovered, and I loved bananas then also. Then one specific thing also very funny. I loved fried eggs that is made with palm oil. That's very hilarious. So that's some of the memories at childhood. Another memory at childhood, I had about 3 blood transfusions during childhood, and some of the hospital admissions made me to miss school. But something was spectacular about me. I never, I never, nobody ever had the, okay, let me put it this way. I always had the first position from my primary school. From my parents, nobody ever had that first position. I always had it, regardless of my absentia from the school. So that's the some of the childhood experience. Okay, my experience in the College of Medicine and the UCH, my lecturer's disposition, using this opportunity to shout out to all my lecturers, everybody, every one of them that has been instrumental to me becoming a doctor today. Yes, and I shout out to all my classmates, both in the BDS and in the MBBS. The truth of the matter is, no matter people can't be the same, right? Really, yeah. People can't be. You meet kind people, you meet cruel people. So, as much as I had very kind lecturers, yes, there were lecturers that were insensitive to my health condition at that time. One of the notable favor that I obtained as a sickle cell warrior from my lecturers at that time, where there were 2 major receipt exams. That was a receipt test that I had. I had an hospital admission while my classmates did their test at that time. So I missed those tests. So, and they had to repeat those tests to me. I can even remember pharmacology, they brought the test to me on the hospital bed. But I was smart enough to decline because I know that I cannot pass a receipt test, and failing a receipt test will mean a repeat. So I declined. I wrote the receipt test after I was discharged. And for child oral health, I did an OSCE all alone. And you know what an OSCE is as medicals. And for an OSCE to be conducted for just one student, it is a big deal because you have stations you rotate through, and it costs a lot to set up those things. It costs the lecturers their time, it costs them so many things. They mark only my script and all that. So shout out to all the lecturers that were kind to me. Shout out to all the lecturers that were also insensitive. And I'm using this opportunity to say thank you to my classmates. Although there were times when people do things that you may not see. Yes. So there were times when I had admissions, and by the time I came back from those admissions, I feel embittered. Yeah, because some of my classmates didn't check on me. And I am at fault partly because at that time I did not have that charisma. That is, I didn't make friends that much. I was quote and unquote antisocial. I was not social. So it affected the feedback, or it affected, yeah, it's garbage in, garbage out. It is whatever you give out that you receive. So it affected the disposition of my classmates to my health at that time. So usually when I come back from hospital admissions at that time, I feel embittered that some of them didn't check on me. But in all, yes, we have wrongs, and we are meant, sometimes we're meant to step on our toes. So regardless, my classmates have been awesome. They have been awesome set of people. So that's my experience during College of Medicine and during my UCH period. Okay, so I didn't tell you at the beginning of this interview that this is about my story, and this is about how I have used my story and my intellectual prowess to impact other lives. So, because I have suffered from sickle cell, I have this passion to impart knowledge to the sickle cell community. So, I have written 3 books on sickle cell disease, and by God's grace, before the year runs out, I should be publishing the fourth one. So one of them, which is the first, is my autobiography. It's about 65,000 words. Yeah, the title is "Shining Through the Dark Tunnel." My journey, my 31 years journey from pain to power, with 24 complications of sickle cell disease. My second publication, Sickle Cell Disease, is Sickle Cell Unmasked: Tales and Parables Demystifying the Truth and Myths of Sickle Cell Disease. And the third one, which is seems to be my best publication, is titled Battle in My Womb. Okay, Battle in My Womb, basically, okay, I will start describing that. I don't have that yet. It's a new publication, so I don't have a printed copy here. So, Battle in My Womb is a fiction premised around the United States military and a particular battle that happened somewhere. It's a fiction. So, and this battle actually is used to simplify the challenges that a pregnant sickle cell patient faces, both before pregnancy, during the intrapartum period, the puerperium, the postpartum, and during breastfeeding. So the sickle cell is the gravity of sickle cell in itself is really high. You understand? So now adding pregnancy to it, that's a big deal. So, and that's what inspired Battle in My Womb. So Battle in My Womb is a war fiction used to simplify the challenges a pregnant sickle cell patient passes through, both before pregnancy till after childbirth. And I had a lot of resource materials from which I garnered knowledge and practices. And one of those resource materials is a publication by the Royal College of Obstetricians and Gynecology, that's United Kingdom. So I was able to gather their practices, the best practices in managing a pregnant sickle cell patient, and I was able to put together what I learned there and other materials. I put them together in that book. That book is going to be one of the I believe that book will win an award. Yes, I believe that book. It's not just an obstetric and gynecological book. It's a book simplified for the layman. I've used a story to simplify it, and so that is about. So the management of the sickle cell pregnant woman, both before pregnancy, during pregnancy, the puerperium period, the postpartum period, the interpartum period, and during breastfeeding. The management and the treatment of those phases, and the prevention of some of the complications and comorbidities that happen during those phases. That is what Battle in My Womb is about. So that's my best publication to me, and that's the first one I'm describing. So the second one I'll be describing is my autobiography. My autobiography is an emotional story that anytime my daddy reads it, it actually brings tears to his eyes. Yes, and a lot of people have been inspired. Some people couldn't finish the story because of how emotional it was. Some people made a resolve never to be give up because I didn't give up. So it's a true life story of me, a 32-year-old Nigerian dental surgeon that pulled through about 26 complications and comorbidities of sickle cell disease. And some of the complications and comorbidities include I suffered from depressive illness, obsessive compulsive disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, cephal hematoma, pulmonary tuberculosis, right eye astigmatism, right knee arthritis, left hip avascular necrosis of the left hip avascular necrosis, gastroesophageal reflux disease, peptic ulcer disease, and so many others like that. So, why did I write the autobiography? The autobiography is meant to be a beacon of hope, both to sickle cell warriors across the globe, all over the world, and to also all other people that have been battered and beaten by life. So, and the second reason why I wrote the story, I made some mistakes, and one of them is finding love, that is romantic relationships. I was a novice. I didn't know what to do at the right time. So some of my mistakes, I put them in this book so that you don't make the same mistakes. Then I made some financial errors also, which I put in the book. What I should have done at that time, I put them in the book. Then my autobiography is also meant to let people know how real sickle cell disease is and how debilitating the complications are. So that is one of the another reason why I wrote the book. Then I had issues with my self-esteem. I also had issues knowing whether I'm accepted before God or not. I had issues with my identity. So this book talks about how I found my identity in Christ. Yes, if I lose everything today, one thing stands sure: my identity in Christ remains. I didn't get it because I worked for it. So that is one of the reasons why I wrote the autobiography. So about sickle cell unmasked. Okay, sickle cell unmasked is made up of about seven parables, stories, or fictions also. And these stories and fictions were used to simplify and amplify the debilitating complications and comorbidities of sickle cell disease so that faraway spectators who cannot relate perfectly with with how real these things are can be able to understand how real they are so that they will not perpetuate this illness in the society. There's a notorious saga about wrong genotype results. Maybe families have they have been victims of sickle cell disease because of wrong genotype. So I addressed this and the solutions to provide to this particular problem is also what sickle cell unmasked is about. Then the management of sickle cell disease, which involves the gynecological, the adult hematological, the pediatric, and the mental health aspect of the disease, the management aspect was actually detailed inside the book. The mental health aspect, I particularly emphasized addiction to pentazocine because this is a very serious matter in the sickle cell community. And then the management of the girl child also is also what this book is about. So, one thing I forgot to mention, I'm going to give you two gifts before the end of this interview. So please stay tuned. Thank you. Okay, so basically, put together, all my books serves to expose the details about what people with sickle cell disease are passing through, so that empathy can be better battered from people and they can know how to support them. So, some of the complications I missed out was a recurrent pharyngeal tonsillitis, and I also had AVN of about four other joints. Yes. So, about how people have reacted to my books so far, I have never done a project that has gathered so much attention like this before. I have never. In fact, when it comes to business, I've never made money than as much as I have made from just digital copies of the book, just selling digital copies of the book. So this project has been a very interesting one and a very rewarding one. I have about 25 uh, doctors and professors all together that have contributed in one way or the other to my three publications on sickle cell disease. Some of them helped me to proofread the book. Some of them gave an endorsement of the book. Some of them helped me with financing the projects with the little they had. So I will be acknowledged, and most of them are lecturers in the University College Hospital. Most of them were my lecturers, so I'll be acknowledging each of them right now. So one of them was the former president of the Ibadan College of Medicine Alumni Association. That is Dr. Abib Olamitoye. He has two copies, sorry, a copy each of the two books. The second person is Professor Omibodun Olayinka. She's the provost of the College of Medicine right now, and she's the one that is facilitating how this video is being shot. So my shout out and deepest gratitude to her. Dr. Akel also too of the Department of Neuroanatomy. She taught me dental anatomy, and she's presently the president of the Medical Women Association of Nigeria. She actually saw my project and she fell in love with it, and she's planning to sell my idea to the Oyo State chapter of the association. Each copy, one copy each of the two books are with the association. Dr. Professor Shokunbi Wuraola, she was one of the doctors that managed me as a patient, and she was also one of my lecturers in hematology. She has electronic copies of each of the books, and very soon I'll be receiving her endorsement, and I'll be receiving some of her contributions to the publication. Also, Dr. Akunwata Chima, he was a senior registrar when I was a student. He is now a consultant in hematology. He proofread the book and he was amazed at how simple I made my books for the layman. He gave his written endorsement of the book also. Professor Falusi Gladys Adeyinka. She's a laureate. She won an award by the L'Oreal UNESCO, I think in 2001, for some novel discovery in hematology, and she has heard about my books. She has been so supportive, both financing the project and even giving her written endorsement. She's an advocate in the sickle cell community. She advocates for people living with sickle cell disease. Professor Brown, pediatric hematology and oncology. I consulted him to give me some insights to the management of the pediatric aspect of sickle cell disease. And he was very supportive at the time when I reached out to him. Dr. Adebayo Bose, pediatric cardiologist. She's presently with hard copies of each book. She's proofreading it, and soon I'll be getting a contribution. So this book definitely should have the second edition when other people makes their contribution. Dr. Victor Makanjola, he referred me to a resource material that he published. It was about addiction to pentazocine and opioid addiction in the sickle cell community. I was able to read that article, and I was able to form my thoughts around this article and profile my own idea and solution. Professor Adura Adedapo, she made her little contribution financially. Professor Adeyemi Bukola of the Oral Pathology Department, University of Ibadan. She made a financial contribution too. Dr. D.M. Ajayi, Conservative Dentistry and Implantology. She has a copy each of my books also. Dr. Ogundoyin of Pediatric Surgery, Dr. Adepoju, Pediatrics also, Dr. Afolabi, Hepatobiliary Surgery, Dr. Afuakwe, General Surgery, Dr. Takure, Urology, Dr. Emmanuel Irabo, Family Medicine Unit, Dr. Taiwo Lawal, and Professor Ogunlana of Pediatric Surgery, Dr. Ola Medicine. All of them know one thing or the other about my books. I reached out to them to let them know about my books. Dr. Unke Handover, he did a lot in proofreading Sickle Cell on Mars. He read it back to back, back to back. And he actually, so far, is one of the most detailed person when it comes to criticizing the book. So, and when there is constructive criticism, yes, the best is actually bound to happen in any project. So Dr. Boji and Dr. Oluwole, they are both consultant obstetricians and gynecologists. Yeah, they gave me materials and they gave me their intellectual contributions also to the obstetric management of sickle cell disease. Dr. Alexander Abu, he actually gave a very, very significant written endorsement. And I will quote what he said. He said, my book should have been titled ABC of Sickle Cell for Dummies. That's what he said about the book, and that's how simple it is. So for a consultant to have given that kind of endorsement about the book, then you should know how simple it is to assimilate. Yes, like I said, some of them proofread, some of them gave their intellectual contributions, some of them financed the project in the little way that there is. And I believe that there is more because I want to make more hard copies available, adapting the books into movies, comic books, cartoons, and other audiovisual for children, putting the medical books into the student curriculum, and probably my autobiography also for students. And the reason for this is so that I will let you know the reason as we proceed with so now, by so doing, fundamentals as Mendelian law of inheritance, preventing wrong genotype results, high performance liquid chromatography, point of care test, difference between blood group and blood genotype. Let me tell you a story. There was a boy, he came to our place to do some training. He didn't know the difference between blood group and blood genotype. So if you ask somebody his blood group today and he has known that, oh, okay, his blood group, sorry, if you ask somebody his blood genotype today, and he had a result somewhere that states that his blood group is A, he will actually give you the result of the blood group for the blood genotype you were asking for. So blood group is different from blood genotype. So I made that distinction in my book. So that's one of the errors some people are falling into. And that's why sickle cell disease is still being perpetuated in the community. So the difference between spotting also and attending to emergencies in sickle cell disease, medics, paramedics, and even non-medicals will be armed with this knowledge once they are exposed to this material. So, like I said, I'm still looking for sponsors, NGOs, philanthropists that can see the beauty of this project and can buy into it. And like I said, just a few copies. In fact, this is basically the last copies I had. I just had to get these copies from somebody to actually make these videos. There are virtually no copies available. So many doctors, like I said, and then other intellectuals, they have attested to how simple it is to assimilate these medical books. I will not leave out sickle cell patients and their parents. Yes, some of them have gotten copies of these books and they've told me how impactful these books are to them. Okay, my relationship with my siblings and my parents. Okay, this is an opportunity to also shout out to them. Rhoda, Rebecca, Christopher, Christiana, Elder Solomon Agbola Olubamiji and Deaconess Tabitha Agbola Yemisi. They've been instrumental to my success and they've been super supportive. I couldn't have wished for better parents and better siblings. So, the next question is about okay, what government can do, religious leaders, teachers, policy makers, what they can do to actually life better, make life better for sickle cell warriors. Well, okay, there are developed countries where they also have sickle cell. So I call my own strategy copy and paste. You just look at what other developed nations are doing for their sickle cell warriors, and then you implement it. And one of them that I've had so far, I learned that the number of working hours relative to other people is actually reduced for people living with sickle cell disease. Yes, we can also implement this. Policymaker can implement this. Then sickle cell folks on merit must also have they must have a particular percentage allotted them when it comes to getting admitted into schools or getting employment. They should not be stigmatized. I've heard of people that were rejected because they were disqualified because they had sickle cell. They didn't get their job because they had sickle cell. Some were fired because they were not coping, they were not meeting up with work demand. This should not be. There should be policies put in place to actually let employers know that these people are entitled to a level of empathy and consideration in the workplace. So they should be given a particular percentage when we're considering admission into the school. And the reason why I mentioned admission, there was a lady, she was a nursing student, and she lost her admission, and it's quite painful. It's because of a leg ulcer. She was asked to come back when she is healed of the leg ulcer, and it's quite painful. So another thing is what I call education. Education. Uh, and why did I mention education? A lot of people do not know much about sickle cell disease. And this is where my books come in. Like, there's almost nothing you want to find out, at least in the basic level. There's almost nothing you want to find out about sickle cell disease that you won't find out in my books. So when you are well informed about the gravity of what we pass through as sickle cell warriors, about some of the debilitating complications and comorbidities, when you are well informed, you are a human being. Naturally, empathy will be battered, and what to do to support such people will naturally come your way. It will pop up naturally. So, and one of the ways, when one of the strategies that can be used in educating the masses about sickle cell, some of one of my professors mentioned it, that incorporating this particular subject in the simplest possible format to students' curriculum can actually go a long way in, even yes, in imparting empathy. That's number one. It can even go a long way in making people, youth, to actually make the right decision when in search for love. Another way in which government and policymakers can actually help religious leaders is looking into incorporating a simple subject as sickle cell disease, incorporating into students' curriculum. Strategies, one of incorporating the study of sickle cell into this curriculum, starting from primary level. Yes, as little as primary school students are, some parts of my book can be assimilated. I'm waiting. I want you to wait till the end. I'll tell you very beautiful stories that I used to simplify some of the basics of sickle cell disease, and you will know that what I'm telling you is true. That children can actually have one or two information about that they can be able to assimilate and even deliver about sickle cell disease. So yes, we start from primary school, we continue to secondary, then to undergraduate. Then during the undergraduate, there are medical students and there are non-medical students. Yes, the medical students should be ready to face anything in the book about sickle cell disease, although it's very simplified. So because that is what they've gone to study in the first place. So, but putting it as a priority, yes, is can go a long way in arming them to supporting sickle cell patients, so that some errors that we make will not be repeated. So I quote one of my messages to the provost of the College of Medicine. I said, incorporating an important topic as sickle cell disease, its burden, its prevention and management in students' curriculum will go a long way in helping undergraduates make right decisions when they are in search of love, that is genotype compatibility. Putting this subject into students' curriculum can also help the society be more armed with very important information about the management of the disease and its sequelae. So another way whereby through which the government, policymakers, and other people can help in making life easier for sickle cell warriors, there's something we call newborn screening. And newborn screening helps you to catch them young. When you catch sickle cell very young, the prognosis is usually better. The survival rate is usually better when you catch them young. And then another thing is health insurance. Okay, health insurance for these newborns till their age 5. 100% health insurance coverage till their age 5. And then health insurance program specific for other children above 5 and also adults. Now, if you cannot cover for all adults, pregnant sickle cell patients must be covered because pregnancy actually gives an exponential effect. It gives an exponential effect to the complications that a sickle cell patient will naturally have. Yes, there's this geometric or an exponential effect to it. So pregnant sickle cell patient must be given 100% health insurance. That's another thing I think about that the government and policymakers can help to do. Then okay, incentives can also be given to people that are compliant with genotype compatibility. I even heard in a particular state that there will be punitive measures for people that are not compliant with genotype compatibility guidelines. You understand? So, but I don't know if that particular opinion, I don't know if it broke through. So yes, I've talked about incentives to be given to people who follow the recommended guidelines on genotype compatibility. Yeah, about my relationship. Yes. One of the causes of my mental health challenges and everything I've been through, one of the most significant causes, yes, is heartbreaks. Yeah, I didn't mention it when I was telling my story. Yes, I had two major heartbreaks. And I also had, okay, I had receipts, about four solid receipt exams while I was in school. I was also denied I was denied admission two times in the University of Ibadan before I eventually got the admission on my third attempt. So, well, on my relationship matter, yes, I've had relationships that were brutal on me. Yes, they were not palatable experiences. Likewise, I've had people that liked me, like they actually liked me, but one of the reasons why I didn't give in, one of them was I wasn't mature at that time. I can remember vividly one of it. I wasn't mature. Then I was skeptical at other time that oh, this person is not after after what I've become. So I was skeptical at other times, and then at other times I just didn't reciprocate. At other times I didn't reciprocate because I had my own preferences. So that's by the way about my relationship. Yes, for people that want to, their carriers of the sickle cell gene, their carriers. There are some investigations that can be done to know whether the baby they will give birth to will have sickle cell or not. One of those investigations is pre-implantation genetic diagnosis. Okay, pre-implantation genetic diagnosis can help you know about genetic diseases, including sickle cell. Yes, it can help you know whether your child is having any genetic disease, including sickle cell. But there are risks and there are financial implications of this. So if you can bear the risk associated, and if you can also bear the financial consequences, yes, why not? And the reason why I'm saying this is women or females generally, they find it difficult to find love easily. So they can use that as an excuse. So me, I am preferring that solution. If you can do the investigations to know whether your child will be carrying sickle cell or not, and you can bear the consequences as a woman and you can bear the financial consequences as well, please go ahead. But if you cannot bear all this, you have to see a psychotherapist or a psychologist. You have to call that relationship a day. Nigeria has the highest burden of sickle cell disease in the world, so we cannot afford to perpetuate sickle cell disease in the community. So a psychologist or a psychotherapist will help you weather through the storm of the separation period. Yes, it won't be easy, but it's going to help the community in the long run. So, at what stage, yes, should we be talking about genotype and all that in relationships? Professor Falusi Gladys, she personally told me that uh, preaching to people that are already in love is is not the best. It's not the best. It's not the best because they are already they seem to be getting the information very late. So and she has a slogan, "Catch them young," that I've actually incorporated into this interview. And my book also helps in a very, very big way because of the stories, the parables, and the fictions that I've used to simplify what sickle cell disease is about. So, starting at childhood, especially for a country like Nigeria, starting at childhood, starting to educate through comic books, through cartoons, through movies, through anything, audiovisuals that children can easily relate with. Yes, yes, communicating it with them, to them during childhood is the best, not when they're already nearing a relationship, or they're already in the university, close to having romantic relationships and all that. So that is that. Don't forget, you have three gifts at the end of this interview. So you keep, stay tuned. The stigma, misconceptions, stereotypes around sickle cell disease. Stereotypes, okay. There's a lot of there's some people like that they compare. They have that nature or that habit of comparing one sickle cell warrior to another. It is bad, very, very bad, because diseases do not read textbooks. Diseases do not read textbooks. That I'm a doctor today does not mean every other sickle cell warrior can pass through the rigors of medical school and become a doctor successfully. No, it doesn't mean that. That a particular sickle cell warrior is commanding, is controlling so many things, has a company somewhere, has so many business, and it has a conglomerate of businesses. It doesn't mean that another can do the same. No, we are not the same. Life throws at us different challenges. Life throws at us different opportunities. Life throws at us different complications. Different complications. There are people that have lived with leg ulcers for years. My leg ulcer has never passed, I don't think it reached 6 months before it healed. There are people that are using crutches because of avascular necrosis of the femur. I have AVN, but I'm not using crutches. You understand? So I've had pulmonary tuberculosis. I'm on antidepressants. I'm being managed for three different mental illnesses: depressive illness, obsessive compulsive disorder, and post traumatic stress disorder. If I didn't tell you, you can't know. So what life throws at each of us is different, and the way we can handle these things also differs, because our personalities are not the same. So please, it gets me angry a lot when I hear you comparing one sickle cell warrior with another. It's not good. It's not good. It is depressing. It is psychologically traumatizing. Yes. So that's about the stereotype. So that one sickle cell warrior is not successful or is struggling doesn't mean that the person is lazy, and it's applicable to people that are not even sickle cell warriors. That they are struggling does not mean they are lazy. That they've not made it does not mean they are lazy. So don't judge any one of us because others are doing great in life. So misconception and stigma are faced. Let me just tell you my own experience. Some of my colleagues actually think I'm pretending whenever I take ill. It still happened recently. Yeah, it's happened recently, and it was depressing. It was psychologically draining, and I was near tears. Yes, I was near tears that someone can think that I was making up things just to excuse myself from work. No, I won't do that. I won't do that. One of them actually literally told me that I sought pity party. That was when I was doing my housemanship. She told me that I was seeking, not once, she told me twice that I was seeking pity party. I had to retort the second time she told me, and it caused a terrible clash between two of us, because I couldn't imagine finishing medical school. That's about 7 solid years. I didn't seek pity party while I was in medical school. I graduated successfully. It was during house job I would now be seeking pity party. Why would you think that? Why? You are not thinking, you're not thinking right if you can think that of somebody who graduated, who survived 7 years in medical school, and now asthmaship is now taking pity party. No, that's not the best thing to say. She actually told me that if care is not taken, I'll be sinking down in depression. That was that was one of the most down moments of my life. It was one of the most down moments of my life. So my advice to people about these misconceptions, this okay, one another misinformation. I'll put that at the end of my at the end of this interview. I call it the parable of the mystical gun and its bullets. I will explain what that means. It's actually the misinterpretation of the Mendelian law of inheritance. I will explain what that parable means. So that's one of the misconceptions people have about sickle cell disease. Many also they've lost their jobs and their academic progress because of stigma. I mentioned somebody who lost admission as a nursing student. I also told you of people who lost who couldn't get their jobs or who were fired because of sickle cell. So these are some of the things we pass through. And my advice to the public, I will implore us to kindly accommodate us as much as possible. Then read more about sickle cell disease, meet some of us, listen to us, our experience and what we tell you will better birth empathy in you, and you will better know how to support us. And yes, you better know how to support us. Give us the opportunity to show our strengths in the workplace. There's something about sickle cell warriors. Go and make some research about their intellectual capacity. Sickle cell warriors are generally intelligent. They are generally intelligent, but sometimes the debilitating toll of sickle cell disease can actually affect their intellect negatively also. So that's why you see some of them not doing well sometimes in school. So I would say you give us the opportunity to show our strengths in the workplace. We've got the brains. So coping strategies, yes. I'll let you know my own coping strategies, and you can just follow suit for your sickle cell child. If you're a caregiver, if you're a sickle cell warrior, also you follow suit. If you are a sibling to a sickle cell warrior, you can give these recommendations to your brother or sister who is having sickle cell. One thing that has kept me moving in life is actually finding God in Christ. Finding God in Christ. There are some identities that are in me because, some identities I have, yes, because I am a believer in Christ. Yes, because I am a believer in Christ. I'm forever loved. When it comes to love, he said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. That's Hebrews 13:5. So many other promises in Christ that we have. So if I lose everything, I lose my health, I lose my mind, which I don't pray for, one thing stands sure: what I didn't work for, my identity in Christ. So that's one of my coping strategies. So another coping strategy, I try to make myself happy. How do I make myself happy? I like to set gigantic goals. And when I beat those goals, when I'm able to achieve those goals, it makes me happy, it makes me fulfilled. When I was writing Battle in My Womb, it looks like an insurmountable goal that I was not able to do. So, but after finishing it, I was very, very excited. Very, very excited. I like to read a lot. When I read volumes and I'm able to deliver this knowledge to other people, it makes me fulfilled, it makes me happy. So, and I also like to preach the gospel. Yes, because that's like an eternal purpose. These are things that we get rewarded for uh, after this life. Yes, these are works that does not get burnt, quote and unquote. So these are works that have eternal value. So I feel fulfilled when I do things for God. Yes, I feel fulfilled when I do things for God. And also, being laser focused. When you talk about somebody that is extremely focused, I am one of them. I'm not boasting, I'm not bragging. I'm one of them. I barely have time for people. Yes, I barely have time for people, for friends, and it's because of I have a lot of things on my mind that I want to achieve. Yes, there's a place of people which I actually try to find time for. But when you begin to find too much of my time, you begin to eat up into some of the time I should have for myself. Because sickle cell in itself, yes, the times when you spend in the hospital, the times when you take ill, the times when you do hospital runs and all that. Yes, those things are time consuming in themselves. So I've learned how to manage time when I'm not down, when I'm not ill. I try to make myself productive. I try to make myself productive. So that's one of the coping strategies so that I can make up for those times when I'm down. So I recommend the same for other sickle cell warriors out there. When you are not down, don't play around. When you are not down, don't play around because all eyes are on you. They will just think, just like they've thought, I'm using my health to play truancy. Yes, they will tell you. They will tell you, and your conscience will tell you whether it is true or not. My conscience has never agreed with any of those statements because I know how much effort I'm putting into my work. I know how much effort I'm putting to make myself productive and impactful. So when you are not down, be laser focused. When you're not down, be laser focused. Engage in things that you are passionate about and that are godly. Engage in things that you are passionate about. Yes, engage in things you are passionate about, and this makes you happy. This keeps you going, regardless of the challenges you've been through. Let me tell you another story. My parents were not the people; they were not involved in choosing my course for me. Yes, I had very terribly challenging period when I was a student in medical school. I would have given up if they were the one that actually chose my course for me. I would have given up. I'd have told them that they were the one that pushed me into all this. But because I did myself, the little push they were able to give me, I was able to keep myself going. Passion is a significant feature of, is a significant quality, or is a significant is significant in making people move on and forge ahead despite terrible and drowning challenges. Yes, passion. So please look for things you are passionate about. I analyzed some of these things in my book: goal setting, uh, having a to-do list, gratitude, and so many other things like that. So I recommend my book once again. So yes, then another thing, as parents, please plant the seed of greatness early in your children. Plant the seed of greatness early in your children. I learned about a story about how they train children in Israel. I don't. So they actually know their future from the beginning, and they allow the child to tread that path that will give the child a destination that they actually want for that child. The mind of a newborn is, they call it tabula rasa. That's a clean sheet upon which you can write whatever you want that child to become. Yes, you have the destiny of your child in your hands. You can start molding that destiny from today as parents. Your sickle cell child, you have the destiny of that child in your hands to an extent. Yes, you have the destiny of the child in your hands, and you can mold that destiny to whatever you want that child to become. Please give your children the best choices. The last thing I will mention is, if you have the opportunity to train your child abroad, if you have the opportunity to set up your child abroad, please do. Sickle cell in itself is debilitating enough. Sickle cell in itself is traumatic enough. So do not compound the problem of your child with poverty. I have had my fair share of poverty before I got a job. I've had times when I had to reach out to my daddy's colleagues to sponsor my medications, to sponsor my feeding. That's after NYC. After NYC, for that matter, I couldn't take up jobs, private jobs, because of my health. I do one day on, one day off. So if I can have this kind of story as a professional, as a medical doctor, how much more sickle cell warriors that did not study professional courses in Nigeria? Please, if you have the opportunity to set up your children abroad, please do. Please do. Now to my story. The first story is the parable of the bricklayer's hands and legs. Okay, this parable is actually used to simplify the job description of hemoglobin and red blood cells. Now, a bricklayer has two hands. He uses the two hands to carry the bricks from whenever the bricks are to the location of the building. So the hands are very dexterous in picking up the bricks, but these hands cannot transport itself from the location of the bricks to the building. The legs are the ones responsible for this. So the hands depend on the legs for transportation. So it is the same way the hands are dexterous in carrying bricks. That is exactly how dexterous hemoglobin is to carry oxygen. Hemoglobin carries oxygen from the lungs to all parts of the body that needs it. But without the red blood cells, the hemoglobin cannot be transported. You understand? So basically, the red blood cell is like the legs supporting the hemoglobin and carrying the hemoglobin around. But the hemoglobin is the one responsible for picking up the oxygen, just like the hands, from where the bricks or the oxygen is being produced to where it is needed. So that's the parable of the bricklayer's hands and legs. Then the parable of the jeweler and her daughter is used to simplify the biochemistry of the S hemoglobin. Okay, the S hemoglobin. Okay, let me come with a story. A jeweler was given a job, a contract to make a neck attire. This neck attire has four strings. Yes, two of these strings they have 146 beads each, and each of these two strings they are designated beta chains. The other two beads are 141 bead long and they are designated alpha chains. Biochemistry people will be laughing at me already. So these beads are supposed to be made of plastics, not metal. So the jeweler did the job. Very beautiful bead, very beautiful neck attire. The package it to the owner of the neck attire. But when the neck attire got the woman got her neck attire, she discovered it conducts electricity. It also it also conducts heat. It also sinks inside water. These are qualities or physical properties of metals. Metals are the ones that are denser than water. They conduct electricity, they conduct heat, and they have several other physical properties like that. So the woman was shocked because the beads were supposed to be made of plastic, not metal. So she went back to the jeweler and the jeweler, after several investigations, they discovered that the daughter actually replaced one of the beads with a metallic bead. And this bead was on position 6 of the beta chain, that is the 146 bead long string. The daughter went to number 6, he picked the number 6 plastic bead and she replaced it with a metallic bead. And that is what changed the whole physical property of this necklace. So it is the same replacement that happened on this bead that happened with the S hemoglobin. On the normal hemoglobin, we have valine, sorry, glutamic acid on position 6 of the beta chains of the adult hemoglobin. So, but the mutation caused this glutamic acid to be replaced with valine. You understand that? So it is this simple, minute, seemingly insignificant replacement of one amino acid with another that caused the whole physical property change that we see in the S hemoglobin. The S hemoglobin polymerizes, it's not soluble, it's not already soluble in water during the hypoxic state. It has so many it's not ready soluble in water, it polymerizes, and this is the qualities, the physical properties responsible for making the red blood cells to have the sickle shapes. I don't hope you understand my analogy. So that's the parable, and these parables are what is inside these books. Yes, they are used to simplify the basics of sickle cell disease. Then the mystical gun and its bullets I told you I was going to tell you a story around the misconceptions about sickle cell. Yes, some people when they are carriers, when the couples are carrier, one of their beliefs is that if they have four children, only one of those children will have sickle cell. That's a lie. If you have four children, all the four children can have, all of them in a row can have sickle cell disease. Yes, and the reason is that you have misinterpreted the Mendelian law of inheritance. Now, if they show you a gun loaded with bullets and they told you that, okay, this gun, it is only one of four attempts that the bullet get fired. It's if you pull the trigger four times, bullet gets fired just once. If that kind of gun is pointed at you, will you ever wait? No, you won't. So that is exactly the analogy for each coitus or for each attempt to make a baby. It is 25% chance of having a sickle cell child. So 25% chance of having a sickle cell. So that 25 is quite significant. So for each coitus, each of the babies you are planning to make can actually have sickle cell. So that is what the parable of the mystical gun and its bullet is rather. So once again, Dr. Emmanuel Agbola Tobiloba, a Bachelor of Dental Surgery and graduated in 2018. I'm really grateful for your attention so far. I'll be expecting feedbacks and comments at the comment section of this video. Thank you so much. You mean a lot to me.